This is Average Sports.
By your average guys.
Eric.
And Ty.
That
would be so bad.
Yeah. This is Average Sports.
Your average sports.
Average Sports.
Thanks for tuning into another episode of
You're listening to Average Sports with your average guys.
Average Sports, average guys, Eric and Ty.
It is that time. You have it dialed in correctly. You chose very well for the latest episode of Average Sports with your average guys with Eric and Ty. And I am Ty, one of your hosts, and the other host, Eric, is on the line here with us. Heyo.
We're here.
And we are here. We're glad you are as well. Once again, if you're not familiar with the show, we are just giving a brief 20 to 30 minutes, however many minutes we choose to go on and ramble for about anything sports, whatever's on our mind, and try to keep you in the know of some stories maybe you weren't familiar with, or just at least delve into more of the major headlines. Especially in this episode, we're talking about a big topic of MLB, of course, returning. That news is now official. We weren't sure even 2 weeks ago what was happening. So anyway, we'll get to that. But let's talk about some buttholes in sports, man. What do you got?
It's Novak Djokovic. He kind of threw a little bit of a tantrum after, testing positive, I believe, and then, being out at a nightclub, dancing with friends, and pretty much saying that if I'm required to, if a vaccine comes out, am I required to get a vaccine or do further testing? I'm not going to do it. I'd rather not play tennis. So he has taken a very strong stance on that. It could potentially ruin his career because tennis may not be willing to let him get away with that.
Well, he went ahead with his tournament that other athletes got sick at. So, what precautions were they taking? Maybe they were doing a very good job. Either way, he did kind of poo-poo coming over to the U.S. Open, and now he's okay, though, with all the logistics of having his own tournament. So, it just comes off as like a guy just trying to have his cake and eat it too kind of thing. And, he's got tummy troubles on that one. Also, what's up with the 23 football players in Clemson? Coming down, testing positive too. Is that going around like all NCAA?
It is
or
going
what?
around. It was Texas or Texas A&M. They had a bunch of players, not 23, but I think it was like 10 to 15 of them had tested positive, and they also aren't the only ones. I can't remember some of the other ones, but a lot of these universities that are going back to school and allowing the student athletes to come in and participate, they are starting to see these cases go up. I'm not sure on the exact all specifics. I know Clemson was the biggest number I've seen so far.
Sure.
And that was from one program.
Wow.
I think like Texas A&M's was like over their whole, or Texas A&M, again, I can't remember, was over the whole program, but it could potentially pose quite a problem.
Absolutely.
As we see these go up quite heavily, how often were these players already socially distancing themselves, being younger? In general, we've seen that a lot in society, that the younger generations haven't cared as much about social distancing, but
okay. Well, all right. Okay. Grandpa mentalities there aside, Eric, do you think that football is going to happen?
No.
Okay.
If these numbers keep coming in like this, it's only June, but I would venture to say that it's going to get the plug pulled on it at some point.
Yeah.
Now,
so brace yourself.
NCAA is going to do whatever they can
to
try and make sure that it happens.
They got to protect the players. The NFL would have to, of course, as well in any sport. But NCAA, you're talking about college kids here. You got to keep them safe, right?
You got to, but the NCAA has proven time and time again to not care at all about the players.
Sure. Okay.
So they only care about money.
Okay. Well, hopefully they make the right decisions there. That'll be interesting as that develops because, the big difference is the NCAA players don't have a players union. They just go by the rules. Got to.
That they're given.
Yeah.
The NFL players have a players union to represent them on these kinds of things. So.
Interesting take. The PGA is back on track, though, so that's kind of nice to see a little more golf, at least something to watch. So more tournaments coming up this weekend. Also, the NBA, we're just gearing up for that. It sounds like for the most part, the league is still all in, and but there's been word of a couple of players sitting out, and I kind of understand that perspective. If you're on one of those bubble teams, not necessarily going into the playoffs, then is it really worth going into removing myself for the next, what is it going to be, like 2 months, 3 months before that season ends? I mean, even if your team gets bounced, then you might be excused early, but again, what's the point? So I think some players are opting not to go into the Disney World bubble.
Yeah, I mean, and it makes sense with some of the players, as you said, for whatever reason, but especially with one or two of the ones that I've seen, they're free agents and a team that realistically probably won't make it, and us as the viewing public always condemn them for, you're not a true team player,
Right.
That's the grandpa mentality.
There it
I'm
is.
sitting over here, I'm like, go get your money.
Back in my day.
Go get your money. Go get paid. They have this very shortened window to make money and make a living. So
yeah.
I don't have a problem with it, especially given the circumstances. Can't really blame someone for wanting to potentially risk injury on it either.
Right. Fair enough. All right. Are we ready? You want to jump into this topic of the episode? It's big news, man. We got to talk about MLB.
I know. Just 2 weeks ago, we thought that this.
We were calling.
I said,
yeah.
Hey, I don't think this is going to happen, or I'm not sure that they're going to get to an agreement on this. And sure enough, they didn't. They didn't come to an agreement, and it's like two, siblings fighting.
Oh yeah.
And then the parents have to step in, and it's like, okay, let's.
Right.
You guys got to play nice now. And so, the owners and the players union had pretty much said, we're not agreeing on this, blah, blah, blah. It was over at the end, over like $300 million, which divided amongst the teams, only $30 million a team. It's a lot of money, but is it really? Couldn't come to terms. And Rob Manfred, mommy and daddy had to step in and separate the two and tell them to go sit in timeout, and that this is when we're starting and this is when we're playing. So baseball is going to happen. It's back. Games will start July 23rd, 24th. They have a 2-day window that looks like they're starting, and it will be a 60-game season. And players are reporting here in just a couple of days, July 1st. Ty, I know you're the big baseball fan here. How you feeling?
Actually very jaded about it, because as your analogy of mommy, daddy needing to separate the children here, I mean, think about what it took to get here. It was exhausting of just going week to week and trying to figure out, well, should I even start getting invested and looking into the sport? I've honestly, in the last couple of months, forgotten a lot about what's happening in baseball, or what should be happening and what's typically happening in the sport. 60 games also, I mean, sure, it can be entertaining and it'll be fun for a lot of fans. I don't know how invested I'm going to be. Now, already saying this to someone else, that person just turned around and said, yeah, well, as soon as you start watching, you're going to start liking it. Like, well, maybe, but I don't know. I'm not necessarily eager just to watch the first game and get pumped up over season opener. It feels like too much, sour grapes in this whole mess. So
okay.
Yeah.
So you're saying
yes,
come July 23rd,
right,
or July 24th, Jack Flaherty's walking out to the mound for the Cardinals for opening day. Mm-hmm. You're not going to be excited?
I might be out cutting the lawn,
sir.
I might be out, trimming,
you a liar, sir.
Trimming the hedges or cutting the grass. I don't know.
Opening day against the Cubs. You're gonna watch. Don't tell me you're not.
It's gonna be weird.
I know
it's
gonna
take
that now.
Yeah, it's easy to thumb my nose at it now, and then when it gets hyped up and available, and that's kind of the big thing too. Is I'm sure. All the television revenue is ready to get back and moving again. That we want to see, like, networks want to carry something other than reality shows or reruns of game shows.
Reruns, man. Yeah.
So
I think you're going to watch, Ty. I know you want to say that you're not going to, but you're going to watch.
I am
you grew up in such a baseball city. and loving the game so much. There's no way you're not. Now,
It's
a casual
hard.
fan more like myself.
Okay.
I can easily see myself being of that mindset. Be like, yeah, I mean, I'll watch it some, but that's when basketball's really going to be like getting into the swing of things and like starting again.
And so that's the
shortly
thing. I
after
think
that,
we
hockey
are.
could potentially be going.
We're going to be
MLS
so
will in the middle of
saturated,
their
Eric.
tournament. So
We'll have so many other sports going on because you're right, NBA and hockey. If those two tournaments are going on where they at least have the bulk of a season to lean on as reference points for like how those teams performed, really we don't know where these teams are stacking up right now. I guess we still have an idea based on the makeup of the teams, but it's such a different season. And you'll hear any analyst year over year talk about how baseball guys are all about routine and rhythm, and this is anything but. They've been going through an entirely different year. I feel like you should prepare yourself for a quite different type of season, especially when you have a rule like no spitting. You can't celebrate and touch each other, and so no dog piles after a big win or something if you're going to win the pennant or something. I don't know. I'm not that anxious to jump on the baseball bandwagon right now after it took this long just to even get here and require the league to have to intervene and say, no, here's what we are going to do because I need to see a season happen. Like, this is what we're doing. That's also just, it makes you, again, it's just sour. I don't hate baseball, Eric, just in case if you're wondering. So
I'm marking it down so that when you get excited in the middle of August about this, I'm going to refer back to this
please
point
do.
in time.
I hope it does turn me back, but right now I kind of feel like sitting this one out and waiting for next year to just get back into the routine. Hockey and basketball are going to be super interesting and exciting. I can't wait for it, including the MLS season, as well as then what's happening at the NFL. So we'll be inundated with professional sports on a daily basis, where baseball may not have as much of a seat at the table. That's all I'm saying.
I mean, fair enough. So that being said, I know you love talking baseball, and I wanted to give you an opportunity to really voice your opinion on it. But let's run through some of the rules here really quickly, because there are some changes that we need to talk about. So first and foremost, this is going to be a 60-game Major League Baseball season, as you had kind of already mentioned. It is going to stay geographically within the divisions. So Central Division, East Division, and West Division. You will predominantly play the majority of your games, or 40 of them, against your own individual division. So AL East will play 40 of their games against the AL East.
Sure.
They will then play 20 interleague games against the NL East. And the same goes for the AL-NL Central and the AL-NL West. They will only be traveling within those kind of corridors. So keep that in mind. So that's the first big one right there. 60-player rosters in total, and there's actually going to be a 30-player opening day roster. They will whittle that down as they go through. It'll drop to 28 players on the active roster after 2 weeks, and then 26 after 4, which I think 26 is the normal number, if I'm not mistaken. Universal DH is also coming to both leagues. I know most NL purists are especially hating that rule, but let's be real.
It's needed
it's
for a
probably
season like this.
time,
Yeah.
and it's definitely needed exactly for something like this. So if it doesn't work out in the NL, guess what? They're probably going to change it back. But they've been talking about this for a while.
I know.
There are some other things to kind of note. The trade deadlines in August. There's transaction freezes is about to be lifted as well too. The COVID-specific inactive roster, it's not going to work like the DL. So there's no timetable on that roster. When they get healthy, they're able to come off it immediately versus like a 10-day, 15-day, 20-day, whatever the DL number is. Decision. They have to wait that long. So if they do end up with the coronavirus, they go on that list. When they're healthy, they just come right off of it. No specific timetable. This is one of the interesting ones. There's not a ton of news about it, but we're looking to find more. Unsigned players are going to be going to Nashville, and they will continuously be staying in shape and playing games against each other. And they will essentially be a pool of free agents that are ready to go. The Major League Baseball, they're taking care of like the salaries for them. But then if, someone's player goes down, they need to call them up. They sign them, and then that team takes over that salary. And then that player goes to wherever they're playing.
So this is like a. So are they completely doing away with the minor league system and then